I have seen many tales of horror and blood, classics of the genre that provide one with the experience of satisfied thrills. I have also seen many of their modern readapted counterparts, twisted, contorted, watered down from their prime. This is one of these cases. This is the unholy blemish. This is what I call remake.
Hi.
How did you do that?
What you watching?
Evil Dead.
Which one?
Ugh. Can't believe we have to differentiate those nowadays, but I guess if you must know all of them.
Awesome. Mind if
I'm sorry, buddy, but I just can't have another victim witnessing the true terror.
What?
True terror! Indeed, this is not only a look at the 1981 cult classic Evil Dead, but also its 2013 remake. I take on this task of trepidation, begging the questions. How does the remake compare? Especially compared to other horror movie remakes. Is it scary like the original? Or does the original even hold up? Well, let's take a look, and it's something I like to call Remake Rewind.
For those who don't know already, The Evil Dead was a low-budget film made way back when by now super successful director Sam Raimi, who went on to direct the Spider-Man trilogy, the Tobey Maguire one, can't believe we have to differentiate that too, the Rush Hour trilogy, and produced the Hercules and Xena TV shows, as well as the Darkman trilogy. Though it didn't have a ton of success to begin with, it made the budget back worldwide and even gradually built one heck of a cult following, extending it into a franchise including 2 sequels, comics, video games, etc.
So how does the movie fare in today's desensitized and electronically overstimulated world? Well, if by chance you haven't seen the movie, then let's dive right in. This is The Evil Dead. Seriously, where is that coming from? It's not even raining out.
The original film starts with an archaic PowerPoint-looking opening credits, and then a very eerie point-of-view shot that flies over the landscape, begging the question what eyes we're looking out of, and to which we're never given a real answer. Ooh. The car driving by contains our main heroes, Hank, his girlfriend Shelley, Linda and Cheryl, respectively girlfriend and sister to Ash, who is played by then newcomer Bruce Campbell, whose fanbase has made him a sci-fi B-movie superstar. If you'd like to see more of his work, check out these delightful pictures. They rent a cabin in the woods.
Not for another 30 years.
For a vacation. Maybe it's just me being used to other horror films where young adults prefer to vacation at the beach, a lake, parties. Why on earth would they want to be at a non-happening lack of activity of a cabin in the woods? Aren't they a little young to want peace and quiet? They arrive, and Raimi does a very impressive job taking advantage of the set he's given, showcasing the environment in a very carefully paced series of establishing shots. And there's a bunch of them. Strange occurrences begin around the cabin, starting with Ash's sister being possessed by an unseen force to draw a square face. Ooh. And during dinner, the trapdoor swings right open, inviting one of our characters, of course the male ones, to check it out while the others hang back.
It's probably just some animal.
An animal? An animal? That is the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Jesus Christ.
Well, there's something down there.
Upstairs, now!
I am in huge trouble.
They find the story's key items, including a tape recorder, a shotgun, a ceremonial dagger, and a book with a frowny face. Ooh. And hey, nice reference to Hills Have Eyes. And whoa, was that Red Dragon? Next you're gonna tell me Hannibal Lecter will be stalking them. They listen to the tape recorder to hear the voice of the previous owner by the cabin.
They may be recalled to active life through the incantations presented in this book, called Naturan de Manto, roughly translated, Book of the Dead. It is through recitation of these passages that the demons are given license to possess the living. maestro bin hazarta. Tatir mano mansizon hazan sobar.
For someone who doesn't want this curse to be spread, he sure is fine with reciting the incantation that brings about the curse. Oops. The incantation summons something wicked this way comes, resulting in an overreaction and a tree branch crashing through the window.
They just came out of the trees, man. They just came out of the trees.
Well, enough excitement for now. We have some character establishment to take care of. This scene has a playful game between Ash and Linda that really does show the audience how these two love each other even though we still know nothing about either one. Then again, in a bloodbath film, I wouldn't really care about their backstories. Only the emotions and character traits that matter for the present story. Maybe sometimes you don't always need a backstory.
What do you say I take you home and eat your pussy?
And that's not my taste, that's just a shitty shark movie.
So it gives her another important item for later, a magnifying glass necklace, kinda like a decoder ring to solve the puzzles of the back of your cereal box. And then we have one of those classic stupid character moments where Cheryl hears something outside and decides to walk into the woods to see who it is. Who does that?
What was that noise? I better go walk into the woods and find out. See, this film's full of life lessons.
So she walks into the heavy, foggy woods, where the trees come to life.
What controversial scene?
They just came out of the trees, man.
She makes it back, but of course no one believes what happens to her. When she begs her brother to leave, they try, but only to find the bridge has been torn up, preventing their exit. They figure they'll have to wait till morning to leave, but not too much longer. Cheryl proves her skill at lucky guessing at cards.
Of spades. 4 of hearts. 8 of spades. 2 of spades. Jack of diamonds. Jack of clubs.
That's silly. I changed my mind!
A possessed Cheryl attacks them, and so they throw her down the trapdoor and lock her in. Another use of the point of view shot gives us that creepy voyeuristic feeling again as the characters take the moment to digest and relieve their shock.
Eyes. For God's sake, what happened to her eyes?
You have pink eye.
But when Shelley seems to disappear, she's next to assault our remaining characters. Their only saving grace is important object number 1. That's nasty. Though the effects are obviously dated, I find some kind of satisfaction that the evil being expelled from Shelley is so extreme it tears what's left of her body apart, not going with the happy ending of her being alright, but just going out 100% destruction. And despite her excruciating demise, Hal doesn't seem to care all that much. Even when asked to help protect Linda, he says,
Look, I'm getting out. I don't care what happens to her. She's your girlfriend. You take care of her.
Boosh! With Ash and Linda alone, he checks on her wounds and finds...
Natural movement.
But no worries, Hal is back. Oh, never mind. To give credit to the movie beyond its somewhat hammy acting and emphasis of gore over character development, it does make for some pretty realistic interactions, or at least some heartfelt ones.
Ash, I don't want to die. You're not gonna leave me, are you, Ash? Are you?
Ooh, sorry, buddy. Looks like you already played your douche card, and you have to follow up with the death card. Sorry, that's just how the game works. I don't make up the rules.
But next is the movie's trademark creepiest moment.
We're gonna get you, not another peep. Kinda gonna sleep.
Oh gosh, a creepy giggling Linda who never attacks Ash even though she could at any whim makes for an unsettling situation. But like a dog that's pissed on the carpet, he drags and leaves her outside. Boyfriend of the year. We get this surprisingly tragic scene where Ash finds he's truly alone when he finds that Hal is dead the entire scene after a full conversation, and Linda finally attacks him. But after besting her with a magical dagger, he decides he needs to do what needs to be done. This potential scene for bloody, gory goodness is halted by the emotional artifact of the scene. Ash's tragedy, though maybe cheesily delivered, feels effectively heartfelt. So, I understand his stupid decision to unchain and bury her.
What could happen?
Well, instead of a full-out attacking him, Undead Linda plays the eye game with Ash again, but in a different circumstance.
Ooh, that's creepy, but tragic. But also exciting, because it's building to something. Oh, the feelings this scene makes me feel so many of them. God damn it, Sam Raimi, how come you emotionally overstimulated me in a blood splatterhouse film of all things?
But the scene eventually gives us what we expect. Is it tragic? Or funny? I don't know, but I like it. Ash decides to get the final important item. The finale goes for a final stretch where Ash has to fight and escape Cheryl and now possessed Hal while crazy shit vomits all over him from every direction. Until he figures out that burning the book will stop the monsters once and for all and gives us some good old 80s special effects. Ash walks into the new dawn, relieved to have seen the daylight once again, only to have the same unseen point of view shot take away our happy ending and replace it with an ambiguous one. It goes without saying, but the original is one hell of a ride. And yeah, it's got outdated effects, but it's part of the cheesy charm that makes the violence fun and entertaining without being too serious. And yet the film balances it out with some brief snippets of tragedy and emotion that works pretty well, and adds to the horror experience. But if that's not enough for you, then we'll just finish this first film with the pros and cons. The pros. The ambience. The use of natural sound to instill the realness of the environments to incite scares rather than an artificial noise.
That sound was so synthetic. Aww.
The camera work. Raimi was obviously having fun experimenting with techniques, giving us very animated and dynamic shots and angles. The cheesy camp 80s music and special effects. Classic. Perhaps aged for some, but an art style and preference for others. Think old Godzilla movies. Bruce Campbell. Maybe it's those big expressive eyes or that almost monobrow, but his facial features just pop, as if he were a comic book character, making him the perfect casting choice for a horror story. The establishing shots. Time was obviously taken to place the viewer into the setting, and the quiet moments allowed us to be absorbed into them. Presenting important key items. This is a technique for screenwriting that builds suspense through foreshadowing. The trapdoor. It's just an awesome device that allows for so much creative possibilities, and Sam Raimi takes advantage of all of them. The ambiguous ending. This kind of ending allows your imagination to assume the worst. And as for the cons, now, no movie is perfect, but if we were to nitpick, the amateur acting. It has its moments, and even for the emotional ones, but it was a low-budget piece, so it's not really worth judging. And the dated makeup and effects. This is kind of obvious to point out, but it's definitely easy to update. Wink, wink. And the scares. The eye game. I felt this was a real human connection and conveys a lot of character relationships and emotions and then utilizes it for eerie imitation, making you question what's real. The tape recorder. Like an audiobook, less says more. A simple narration makes you ponder the images instead of cheesy effects. The trees. Besides the controversial scene, there's also the scene with Hal where he comes back and we have no idea what even happened to him when he tried escaping through the woods. They serve to always be there as an ominous, mysterious force that keeps our characters trapped. The gradual possessions. allowing the presence of the evil to leak through before a full-blown reveal, allowing for suspense. Laughing Linda. It gives you the idea of a predator with no rules, just whim. Talking to Dead Scott. Now, this may not seem like a very big deal, but this scenario is very much like an urban legend where you feel secure but only to find that the entire situation is not what it seems. In this case, the passing of Ash's friend, bringing him to the inevitable conclusion that he is now truly alone. And of course, last but not least, the bloody camera show. Whew, eerily carnivalesque.
So there's Evil Dead for you. And now in contrast, the remake.
Don't forget the sequel. Don't forget the sequel. Don't forget the sequel. Don't forget the sequel. Oh.
Since we're on the subject, might as well take a quick look at Evil Dead 2. Should have guessed this review would have been bigger than expected. So I'll catch you next time, in the next episode. Seriously, what the?
They just came out of the trees, man.